My name was Ahmed. I was a Sharia judge, a figure of authority and tradition, revered and respected in my community. My days were filled with rulings, prayers, and unwavering faith in a system designed to guide the lives of many. Yet, beneath the weight of my robes and the gravity of my decisions, there was an emptiness gnawing at my soul. I felt trapped in a labyrinth of beliefs that smothered my spirit, even as I upheld them outwardly. But everything changed in an instant. A near-fatal accident cast me into darkness, into a realm beyond the physical. I found myself in a celestial courtroom, a place where time lost all meaning. Then I heard it, a voice, infused with love and authority, breaking through the void. It was Jesus. Not as the figure I had been taught to fear or dismiss, but as the embodiment of grace revealing the truth behind my doubts. His words pierced through my heart, uncovering a profound spiritual war that had raged long before I was born. In that moment, I realized my fight wasn't merely against external forces, but against the chains of my own conditioning. I witnessed the shadows of deception that cloaked the earth, political agendas, and religious manipulators weaving a tapestry of fear designed to keep humanity enslaved. I had not been serving God. I had been a pawn in a game far larger than I ever fathomed. Returning to life became my true crisis. I was met with scorn and betrayal from my own family, branded as a traitor for daring to seek the light of truth. My heart was torn. Battles waged within me between the faith I had known and the freedom that now beckoned me. It was terrifying to step into the unknown, to wrestle with a newfound faith that could cost me everything. But I could no longer ignore the spirit within me that demanded to be heard. My journey of discovery unearthed a hidden love and purpose, igniting a fire that yearned to guide others lost in the darkness. I had a calling, a mission to expose the spiritual deception ensnaring so many lives, to plant seeds of hope in places where hope was all but lost. So here I stand, not just to recount a transformation, but to invite you into a revelation that could forever change your perspective. Before we delve deeper, I urge you, comment below where you're watching from and the time on your clock. I want to witness how far this message of truth can echo. And if you feel the stirrings of a longing for something greater, subscribe to Truth from Beyond. This isn't merely a video, it's an awakening. A journey where your spirit might also find the light of Jesus waiting to embrace you. In the heart of a bustling courtroom in Rome, I've spent my life upholding the traditions of Sharia law as a respected judge within my community. My name is Ahmed, and I'm well acquainted with the weight of responsibility that comes with my position. Every day, I navigate the delicate balance between enforcing the law and addressing the needs of those who come before me, all while ensuring I remain true to my faith. Yet, beneath this veneer of authority and steadfastness lies a growing sense of unease, a feeling that something within me was yearning for deeper understanding. As I assessed the cases presented to me, I couldn't help but sense the frustrations and fears that ripple through my community. There's an unspoken tension that hangs in the air, one that I often feel helpless to address. The realities of societal strife weighed heavily on my shoulders, and I began to recognize the echoes of a much larger spiritual war. The elite maneuvered within the shadows, often leveraging faith to further agendas that perpetuated division and disenfranchisement. A part of me wanted to challenge these constructs, to seek the liberation of truth, but I felt trapped by the expectations imposed upon me as a religious leader. One fateful day in the courtroom, everything changed. During a particularly intense session filled with disputes over faith and law, I felt an unexpected wave of dizziness. As I closed my eyes, the world around me faded, giving way to darkness. I felt a disorienting heaviness at first, But then, out of that void, I began to see a radiant light. It pulled me in, and as I embraced it, I realized I was standing before Jesus, His presence filling the room with warmth and peace. "Ahmed," He called, and at once I felt my burdens lift. In His eyes, I saw compassion, a reflection of unconditional love that washed over me like a tidal wave. In that sacred moment, Jesus began to reveal profound truths. He showed me the nature of the spiritual war, illustrating how hidden agendas often disguise themselves within the very teachings we hold dear. I witnessed the impact of deception on individuals, families, and entire communities, how fear had been woven into the fabric of our faith, turning it from a source of strength into a tool for control. It was as if the scales had fallen from my eyes. The realization was overwhelming. I understood that many suffer under the weight of these collective deceptions, unaware of the light and truth that could set them free. Upon awakening, I returned to the courtroom, but I felt irrevocably changed. The atmosphere now crackled with urgency. The light of revelation radiated through me, compelling me to address the realities I had just uncovered. The fear of rejection from my colleagues and community crept in again, but the call to share this awakening overshadowed any trepidation. I felt a profound responsibility to elucidate the truths I had been shown, to teach others about the love that transcends the structures we've built around our beliefs. I knew I had to initiate conversations that could lead to recognition and ultimately an awakening, together breaking down barriers that have kept us divided far too long. As I prepared to step forward, I steeled myself for the challenges ahead, embracing the purpose that had been revealed to me as both a guide and a calling. Externally, I present an imposing figure, clothed in traditional attire, embodying the authority and respect that come with my role as a Sharia judge in Rome. My name is Ahmed, and for years, I've devoted myself to upholding the laws and traditions of my faith, navigating the complex landscape of justice with a sense of duty. Yet beneath this well-crafted exterior lies a deep emotional emptiness that I can no longer ignore. Each day, I find myself grappling with a sense of entrapment within my beliefs, feeling increasingly trapped by the expectations that come with my position. The weight of those expectations creates an internal struggle, casting shadows over my spiritual life that I no longer feel I can hide. Every case I evaluate, every verdict I deliver, stirs a mix of pride and disquiet. I've spent my entire life adhering to a code that once brought me clarity, yet its rigid structures now feel suffocating. In my private moments, I wrestle with doubts that haunt my thoughts, questions that challenge the very foundation of my beliefs. Am I truly serving justice or simply perpetuating a system that can be manipulated by hidden agendas? The realization that the elite can leverage faith and authority to control the narrative of our existence adds weight to my internal conflicts. These considerations invade my reveries, sparking the fear of losing my own sense of identity. The struggle reached its peak one particularly long day in the courtroom. As I prepared to announce a ruling in a high-profile case, the burdens of my responsibilities crashed down upon me, leaving me momentarily breathless. Suddenly, I felt dizzy and disoriented, succumbing to an overwhelming urge to collapse. In that instant, the room around me dissolved, and I was transported to a vast, dark desert. It felt surreal, the air thick with stillness. But then, as if guided by an unseen force, I gazed upon a brilliant light in the distance. As I drew closer to the light, I found myself standing before Jesus. His warm and compassionate presence enveloped me, and there was a profound sense of love that washed over my fears and doubts. Ahmed. He called, and with that, every question I had pondered in silence began to unravel in my mind. In that moment, I was shown the truth about the spiritual war that rages around us. Jesus revealed the depths of deception that manipulate our understanding of faith, illuminating how hidden agendas often mask themselves in the traditions we hold dear. The realization crashed over me like a wave, compelling me to confront the painful truths about the very practices I had upheld. In those sacred moments, the veil of ignorance that had clouded my heart slowly lifted. I witnessed the tragic consequences of division and conflict perpetuated by those in power, and I began to see how fear and manipulation create barriers that prevent us from accessing the love and truth that bind us. Jesus' message resonated deeply within me, urging me to take my awakening back into reality. I could feel the urgency of my mission solidifying. It wasn't merely about my personal liberation, but a divine calling to share the revelations I had received. The understanding that my awakening could become a beacon of hope for others trapped in the cycle of deception propelled me forward with newfound determination, ready to confront whatever challenges lay on the path ahead. As I engaged in my daily prayers and rituals, an increasing sense of void enveloped me, an emptiness I couldn't previously acknowledge. My name is Ahmed, and I am a Sharia judge in Rome, a position I once held with pride. The weight of tradition and responsibility has always been significant, but lately, I felt as if I'm serving a system that constrains rather than liberates. Each prayer felt less like a genuine reflection of faith and more like a routine obligation, a well-rehearsed performance that echoed through the walls of my soul without truly resonating. As I recited the verses, I found myself wrestling with questions that had long simmered just beneath the surface. What is the nature of my faith? Am I genuinely connected to God, or merely following dogma imposed upon me? The intensity of these questions became increasingly unbearable, and I felt an inexplicable yearning for something beyond my grasp, a deeper truth that seemed just out of reach. The spirituality I had always held sacred now felt burdened by expectation, a cage rather than a sanctuary. In this emotional turmoil, the nights turned restless. Each sunset brought with it haunting dreams, visions of deeper truths swirling just beyond the veil of my consciousness. During one particularly vivid episode, I found myself enveloped in darkness, only to be drawn to a glimmering light that pierced through the void. As I moved closer to that light, I saw the figure of Jesus. His presence illuminated the darkness surrounding me, filling me with warmth and understanding. "Ahmed," he said, calling me by name. In that moment, every strand of fear melted away, replaced by a profound sense of peace. In that sacred encounter, Jesus unveiled revelations that shook the very foundation of my understanding. I witnessed the spiritual war being fought not just within my heart, but across our entire society. He revealed how hidden agendas operated in the shadows, manipulated by the elite to maintain control over the people. I could see how the threads of deception wove through our traditions and practices, creating divisions among us, fostering an environment where fear thrived. The realization struck me with urgency. Many live unaware of the chains that bind them, prisoners of dogma that obscure the true essence of faith. As I returned to my reality, the weight of his revelations sat heavy on my heart. The familiar walls of the courthouse and the patterns of my everyday life became tinged with the truths I had seen. I felt compelled to share this awakening, to confront the fears that had held both me and my community captive for too long. Yet the thought of speaking out filled me with dread. Would I be shunned for stepping outside the parameters of my culture and beliefs? The tension between my desire to advocate for love and truth and the fear of rejection loomed large. I knew I stood at a crossroads, one that would require courage, strength, and a deep commitment to the truths I now held dear. With every heartbeat, the call to action grew stronger, urging me to step boldly into the light of my faith and guide others through their own awakening, no matter the cost. Following a taxing day in court, I found myself behind the wheel, exhausted yet lost in thought. I'm Ahmed, a Sharia judge in Rome, committed to upholding the law while navigating the complexities of my faith and cultural identity. While the world outside the car sped by, I felt an overwhelming heaviness settle in my chest, a burden I had been carrying for far too long. My mind daydreamed quietly, wrestling with the weight of my responsibilities and the inner turmoil I often felt about my place in the world. I had spent years fulfilling my duties, yet I found myself questioning the deeper meaning behind my life's work. Suddenly, my thoughts were interrupted by a blaring horn, the screech of tires, and an instant of blinding panic. In that split second, as I lost control, everything went dark. It felt as though I had been thrust into an abyss. But rather than fear, I was met with a different kind of awareness. Slowly, a light began to form around me, warm and inviting. I noticed that I was in a courtroom of sorts, but it was unlike any I had ever seen. The atmosphere was charged with energy, filled with a profound sense of purpose. I looked around and realized I was not alone. Standing before me was Jesus, radiating love and compassion that enveloped my soul. "Ahmed?" he called, and his voice resonated with a truth that pierced through the layers of confusion surrounding me. In that moment, feelings of emptiness transformed into clarity. Jesus began to reveal the spiritual war one had been oblivious to, opening my eyes to the hidden agendas that lay beneath the surface of society. I saw how deception were wielded by the elite, how they manipulated faith and politics to maintain power, suffocating the truth and dividing communities. This was a battle not just for souls, but for the very essence of our humanity, for the connections that bind us together. As each revelation unfolded, I felt the urgency of the message seep into my heart. I witnessed the societal fractures created by fear and ignorance, the way people turned against each other, blinded by the manipulation orchestrated by those in control. In this exquisitely illuminated courtroom, I grasped the magnitude of my role, not just as a judge, but as a guardian of truth. I understood that my life's work extended beyond rendering judgments. It was about bringing awareness to the hidden deceptions that longed to imprison the minds of the faithful. I felt called to take action. But in the midst of this awakening, I couldn't shake the lingering doubts and fears that had haunted me. Would I have the courage to share these truths with my community? Would they reject me for stepping outside the comforting boundaries of tradition? The thought of facing scorn filled me with trepidation. Yet I knew that the light of Jesus had revealed not just a personal truth, but a collective calling. I was compelled to share what I had witnessed, to invite others into this journey of awakening. As the vision began to fade, I felt a sense of hope surge within me, empowering me to confront the challenges of the path ahead with newfound determination. The fight for truth was not just personal, it was a mission for the soul of humanity. Upon returning to life after that life-altering experience, I faced a harsh reality that brought profound pain and confusion. My name is Ahmed, and I had spent much of my life as a respected Sharia judge in Rome, guiding others through the intricacies of faith and law. I believed with all my heart that I was fulfilling my duty to uphold justice. However, after encountering Jesus in that surreal moment, everything shifted. The revelations I received were more than just personal. They were a challenge to my very identity and belief system. When I shared my experience with my family and community, I was met with scorn and hostility. I was labeled a traitor, an outcast for daring to embrace a faith that diverged from everything I had known. The rejection from those I loved was a bitter pill to swallow. As the words of condemnation echoed in my ears, I felt the weight of my past crashing down around me. My heart ached with guilt and confusion. How could I reconcile the teachings that shaped my life for so long with the new truths Jesus had revealed to me? I found myself ensnared in a spiritual war, battling the loyalty to my origins against the profound truth that now haunted my thoughts. It created a tension within me that felt insurmountable, an emotional schism that dictated my day-to-day life. Every moment spent in that courtroom felt heavy with irony. I had once believed that law and morality were intertwined, that serving justice meant upholding my community's expectations. Yet now, I questioned whether I was perpetuating a system built on hidden agendas and manipulation by the elite. I felt powerless in the face of societal structures that often seem to serve the interests of the few rather than the many. This disillusionment ignited an urgency within me. I understood that to remain silent would mean colluding with the very deception I had dedicated my career to fighting against. There were nights when I lay awake, grappling with the consequences of my newfound faith and the implications of my beliefs. The fear of losing my relationships, my status, and my identity tormented me. I could sense the distance growing between me and my family. They could not see the love and light that Jesus so graciously offered, nor could they fathom the depths of the spiritual awakening I had experienced. I felt isolated, locked in a room filled with darkness, while desperately seeking openings where light could seep through. Through this turmoil, the vision of Jesus remained seared in my mind. His call to arms, a plea for love and understanding, urged me to step beyond my fear. I became determined to reach out to others, to share my story, and to speak against the deception that had blinded so many. I started connecting with others who were exploring their own paths to spiritual truth, forming bonds of solidarity as we navigated the intricacies of faith together. With every conversation, I felt the chains of fear loosening, and I realized that this awakening was about more than just me. It was about igniting a movement toward truth and unity in the midst of a broken world. The path ahead was filled with challenges, but the light of revelation guided me, and I knew that I had to keep pushing forward, ready to face whatever lay in wait. In secrecy, I began my exploration of the Bible and the testimonies of Christians, desperately seeking solace and understanding in the wake of my profound revelations. My name is Ahmed, and as a Sharia judge in Rome, I've dedicated my life to the law and to serving my community. However, since my encounter with Jesus, everything has changed. Each evening, after the chaos of my daily responsibilities, I would find a quiet corner of my home to delve into the scriptures, my heart racing with a mix of hope and fear. The words danced before me like a light, illuminating the shadows of doubt that had clouded my spirit for so long. The more I read, the more peace I found in my newfound faith. It was as if every verse echoed the sentiments I had longed to hear but had never fully embraced. Each testimony I watched brought tears to my eyes, revealing the love and understanding I craved. But with this awakening came the heavy burden of fear. My family, my community, they are steeped in tradition and expectations. To openly embrace this new faith would feel like a betrayal to them, a rejection of everything I was raised to believe in. The conflict whirred within me, a painful reminder of the hidden agendas that often divide cultures and communities. As I wandered through the pages of my new Bible, I started to connect the dots. The spiritual war one had once been oblivious to stood starkly before me, revealing the manipulation orchestrated by the elite. I began to see how easily truth can be obscured by deception. The elite have a way of twisting narratives, using our faith as a vehicle to serve their agendas. I realized that for far too long, I'd lived a life shaped by this deception, unaware of how my loyalty to certain beliefs had kept me blind to the broader truths. This awakening filled me with urgency. I knew it was vital to not only embrace my path, but to advocate for others who might feel the same call. With every moment spent in reflection, I felt a deepening desire to share my journey, to reach out and help others navigate their own spiritual battles. I envisioned gathering others who felt silenced by societal expectations, creating a community where honesty, love, and faith could nurture our souls. There was a burning conviction within me that our collective awakening hinged on acknowledging the hidden agendas that had kept us apart. Although the fear of family rejection loomed like a shadow, I realized that my truth had the power to challenge the status quo and inspire others to step into the light. Yet, the risk was daunting. Every time I contemplated sharing my revelations with family and friends, a knot twisted in my stomach. Would they understand? Or would they shun me for venturing too far from our roots? Still, the call to embrace this awakening beckoned me, urging me forward. With each passing day, I decided to take small steps, sharing snippets of my journey with those I trusted, feeling the barriers of fear slowly begin to crumble. I realized that the truth of Jesus was not only a personal testimony, but a message meant to resonate throughout our communities, encouraging hearts to break free from the chains of deception. The path ahead remained uncertain, but I felt ready to confront whatever challenges awaited, ignited by hope and the promise of transformation. Realizing my experience signified a divine calling, I made the monumental decision to break my silence and share my newfound faith. My name is Ahmed, and as a Sharia judge in Rome, I had always believed in the justice and integrity of my role. Yet the moment I encountered Jesus during a near-death experience, everything shifted. In the wake of that life-changing revelation, I became acutely aware of the spiritual war that surrounds us, a battle waged not only within individual hearts, but across global systems, one marked by deception, manipulation, and hidden agendas crafted by the elite to maintain control over vast populations. For months, I grappled with the implications of this calling. The fear of alienation weighed heavily on my heart. My family and community were steeped in tradition, with generations of beliefs that dictated their understanding of faith. How could I reconcile my new convictions with the expectations of those I loved? Each day, I would sit in prayer, seeking guidance while wrestling with guilt over what felt like a betrayal of my roots. The truth is, every time I hesitated to speak out, I felt as though I was allowing the deception of this world to prevail over the light of awakening I had been gifted. I began to realize that staying silent would perpetuate the very cycle of fear and ignorance that I'd seen tear my community apart. The deeper I delved into the teachings inspired by my encounter with Jesus, the more compelled I became to share my insights. I witnessed how often faith is weaponized to pit individuals against one another, reinforcing societal divisions. This manipulation subtly undermines the essence of what we believe, and it threatened the unity that is so crucial in a world rife with conflict and division. I knew that the truth I had unearthed must be shared, and it had the power to heal and liberate. Through personal connections and an expanding network of seekers, I began to find courage in vulnerability. I shared my journey with others who were wrestling with their own doubts and fears, individuals yearning for deeper spiritual understanding. Each conversation became a beacon of hope, revealing that many others were also trapped in their own cycles of deception. I felt a sense of urgency in these discussions, a shared responsibility to confront the hidden agendas that often seek to divide us. Together, we explored the implications of our awakening and the paramount importance of placing love and understanding at the forefront of our beliefs. As I began to embrace my role as a messenger of truth, the weight of my past lingered. The fear of rejection from my family remained an omnipresent shadow, but I couldn't shake the conviction that sharing this light was my divine purpose. I felt Jesus urging me forward, calling me to step boldly into my mission, to be an advocate for love and unity. The path ahead was fraught with challenges, but the knowledge that I was fighting for a truth that transcended the individual resonated deeply within me. Each step I took toward this awakening transformed not only my life, but also the lives of those around me. I was ready to confront whatever obstacles awaited me, fueled by the desire to help others break free from the chains of spiritual ignorance, united under the banner of truth and love. Demonstrating remarkable courage, I made the life-altering decision to leave my home and embrace a new identity. My name is Ahmed, a Sharia judge in Rome, and I've devoted years to upholding the laws and traditions of my faith. However, the encounter with Jesus that turned my world upside down compelled me to reassess everything I had once believed. I can still recall the sense of clarity that washed over me during that near-death experience, illuminating the hidden agendas at play in our society. The truth became painfully clear. The elite often manipulate religion and tradition to maintain control and perpetuate division among us. This revelation ignited a fire within me, driving me to seek a path of genuine awakening. As I navigated the complexities of my daily life, the emotional toll of my decisions settled into my bones. Each day served as a reminder of what I had left behind, the expectations of my family, the community I had known my entire life, and the profound connection I once felt to my faith. With every step toward this new identity, I was faced with the chilling prospect of rejection from those I loved. The fear of being labeled a traitor gnawed at my heart, yet the promise of freedom stirred within me an undeniable sense of purpose. I could no longer live under the heavy cloak of deception that had shrouded my spiritual life for far too long. The tension in my heart escalated as I began to share my story in secret gatherings. I found others who, like me, were yearning for a deeper truth beyond the confines of their traditional beliefs. It was incredibly liberating to connect with individuals who were wrestling with similar doubts. Their stories resonated with mine, weaving a tapestry of shared awakening. Together we explored the complexities of faith, peeling back the layers of deception that had kept us shackled to societal norms. Each conversation deepened my understanding of the spiritual war that raged within and around us, affirming my newfound faith and fueling my resolve to act. Yet, the ghosts of my past loomed large. How would my family react if they discovered the choices I was making? The thought of disappointing them haunted me, yet I felt a growing responsibility to confront this fear head-on. The awakening I had experienced was not merely personal. It was a call to action for all who felt trapped in the constraints of societal and religious expectations. I became determined to stand up for the truth that Jesus had revealed to me, a truth that transcended mere religious dogma and reached into the very heart of what it means to love and connect as human beings. As I prepared to fully embrace this new chapter, I envisioned the work ahead, advocating for love, understanding, and unity in the face of harsh realities. I understood that the journey would be fraught with challenges, but I felt bolstered by the divine support I had received in my transformative encounter. The spiritual war requires warriors willing to confront the darkness that threatens our collective spirit, and I was ready to answer the call. While stepping into the unknown stirred anxiety, I felt emboldened by the light of revelation, eager to guide others toward their own awakenings, even as I held onto the hope of reconciling with my past. Years later, I find myself fully committed to my mission in a new country, carrying the weight of my transformation as I share my faith journey with others. My name is Ahmed, and as a former Sharia judge, I once enforced laws and traditions that felt increasingly constraining. After my encounter with Jesus, everything changed. The revelations I received during that near-death experience compelled me to act, to embrace this new path of truth even as I navigate the complexities of life as a new evangelist. Each day, I wake up knowing my purpose to impact lives by sharing the profound truths I now hold dear. The journey has not been without its struggles. As I stepped into this new identity, I felt the echoes of my past, the family I left behind, the community that labeled me as a traitor. I harbor a hope for reconciliation, a desire for my loved ones to understand that my faith isn't a rejection but an awakening to the love that Jesus represents. The spiritual war within me rages on as I balance my commitment to truth with the pain of separation. My heart aches for those still ensnared in the deception that binds them to fear and misunderstanding. Through my experiences, I've met countless individuals who resonate with the silent struggles I faced. We gather together, sharing stories filled with pain, hope, and awakening. Each testimony exchanged ignites a spark within me, reinforcing the idea that we're not alone in our battles. I remind them that the hidden agendas often orchestrated by the elite aim to divide and manipulate us. We explore topics that encompass not only our personal struggles, but also the larger context of a world mired in conflict and division. It's become increasingly clear to me that our collective awakening is not just essential but urgent. In this new environment, I've taken to sharing my story widely, from community centers to online forums, where people from diverse backgrounds seek understanding and connection. My mission has become more than personal. It's about dismantling the walls of fear that prevent us from truly embracing one another. I speak openly about the deception that can permeate our beliefs, urging individuals to seek the truth that sets us free. I've seen how light can triumph over darkness when we collectively embrace the love that Jesus embodies, how it can heal rifts and foster understanding even among those who feel most divided. As I reflect on my journey, I realize that the struggles I endure are not just my own. They are a reflection of the broader tensions within society, the conflicts that shape our world today. The fear of standing out or straying from tradition still lurks, but I've learned that embracing my truth empowers others to do the same. I feel a profound responsibility to continue speaking out, to remind others of the awakening that awaits them and the truths that can liberate their spirits. With every story shared, Every conversation had, I inched closer to not only fulfilling my mission, but also to reconciling with the past that continues to shape my future. The path ahead remains uncertain, but the conviction within me burns brightly, guiding me through the challenges and inspiring hope in those who join me on this journey. In the life I led as a Sharia judge in Rome, I was often seen as a pillar of authority, upholding tradition and serving my community with dedication and respect. My name is Ahmed, and for years I believed that my adherence to the law equated to a steadfast commitment to my faith. Yet, beneath this facade of discipline, an unsettling emptiness grew within me. The weight of expectations, both familial and societal, pressured me into roles and beliefs that no longer felt authentic. Day after day I recited prayers that echoed through the walls but failed to resonate in my heart. One afternoon, as I returned home from a particularly demanding day in court, I was overwhelmed by an internal storm. I felt suffocated by the very traditions I was meant to uphold. The unease that had crept into my life reached a breaking point, and as I sat in silence, it felt as if the walls were closing in. Suddenly I lost consciousness, collapsing to the floor. In that moment, darkness enveloped me, leading me to an extraordinary realm, a vast desert illuminated by an indescribable light. It was in this surreal space that I encountered Jesus. His presence was unlike anything I had ever experienced, radiating warmth and love that pierced through the shadows of my fear. Ahmed, he called, and in that instant, I felt an overwhelming sense of peace. In that sacred moment, he began to reveal the truths hidden behind the facade of my beliefs. I saw glimpses of the spiritual war that rages around us, the very war that had kept me locked in chains of fear and obligation. I witnessed the hidden agendas of the elite and how they manipulate our understanding of faith to control our lives and sow division among us. The revelations flooded over me like a torrent, exposing layers of deception that had masked the truth of my life and my community. I realized that many of us, in our quest for spiritual adherence, often failed to see the greater picture. The traditions I followed, which once gave me certainty, were now veiling a far more profound truth. Jesus showed me that true faith is not about rigid adherence, but about embracing love, understanding, and awakening to the reality of our shared humanity. In that moment, I understood the implications of my spiritual journey. It was not just personal liberation, but a greater calling to advocate for truth and justice in a world filled with despair. When I finally awoke, the familiar surroundings of my home felt starkly different. I was no longer just a judge. I had been transformed into a messenger of truth. But as the excitement of my revelations began to settle, the weight of reality pressed down on me. The fear of rejection from my family and community gnawed at me, filling me with trepidation. Would they understand my awakening, or would they see me as a traitor to our shared tradition? Each day I grappled with the thought of whether I could face the backlash of those who loved me, or whether I could summon the courage to voice the truth that Jesus had entrusted to me. The path ahead promised struggle, but the calling to share what I had learned was too powerful to ignore. The tug of the spiritual war was palpable, and armed with the light of Jesus, I felt ready to face whatever lies ahead. Now that you've heard my story, I invite you to reflect on a powerful question. What if the unseen threads of your own life are tugging at you, urging you to seek a deeper truth beyond the surface of your existence? The world is more than it seems, a turbulent battleground of beliefs, hidden agendas, and the eternal struggle between light and darkness. Just as I was drawn into that divine courtroom, you too are invited to step out of the shadows and seek the truth that lies beyond the confines of tradition and fear. In embracing my journey, I found that I am not merely Ahmed, the Sharia judge. I am now a seeker, a warrior in the spiritual war that surrounds us. This isn't just about my transformation. It's about how we can all awaken to the reality that binds us as human beings. Beneath the layers of fear, pain, and division, there pulsates a powerful current of love and understanding, an invitation to join a movement toward unity and spiritual emancipation. Are you ready to accept this call? I want to hear your thoughts. Have you ever experienced a moment or drawn a breath that made you question everything you thought you knew? Share your experiences in the comments below. Your voice matters and can inspire others searching for clarity in their own spiritual journeys. Remember, you are never alone in this struggle. We are all interconnected in our quest for truth. And as we continue to explore these profound revelations, don't forget to subscribe to Truth from Beyond and hit the notification bell. By doing so, you'll ensure that you receive every new message designed to uplift and enlighten our spirits in an ever-darkening world. Together, we can cultivate this awakening, one truth at a time. In our next video, we will delve into another eye-opening testimony, the journey of a skeptic transformed into a believer who encountered the miraculous workings of faith. Thank you for joining me on this journey of discovery. Remember, I'm Ahmed, and together, let's illuminate the darkness with the light of truth. Keep seeking, and never lose sight of the love that connects us all.